It was late autumn in 1984 when the weather in the Highlands of Scotland turned unusually harsh. In a remote village tucked between the hills and thick pine forests, the residents of the Glenmoore Valley experienced a strange, unexplained events that still baffle people to this day. The village had only 52 residents. Everyone knew each other, and doors were rarely locked. One of those residents was Mary Wallace, a 72-year-old widow who lived alone in a stone cottage her husband had built decades ago. Mary was known for her kindness and warm bread, which she gave freely to neighbors. She was never considered eccentric or paranoid. That changed in early November. Neighbors began to notice strange behavior. Mary started placing salt lines along her windowsills and hanging mirrors facing outward from every room. She whispered to herself when she thought no one was watching and refused to let anyone into her home after sunset. It was around this time that she visited the village doctor with an odd complaint. She claimed she hadn't slept in 3 days because something or someone was tapping at her windows between 3 o'clock and 3:15 every morning. She insisted it wasn't an animal. She never saw it, only heard it. The doctor thought it was stress or age paranoia and advised her to rest. Mary didn't come back. 3 days later, her house was found empty. The front door was wide open. Her oven was still warm and a loaf of bread was sitting on the counter, half sliced. Her reading glasses were on the table. There were no signs of struggle. Her coat was still on the hanger. The only thing out of place was that every mirror in her home had been turned to face the walls. The villagers organized a search party. Dogs, drones, and dozens of people combed the woods for days, but there was no trace of Mary Wallace. About a week after her disappearance, a teenage boy named Callum, who lived nearby, told his mother he saw something strange in the forest behind their house. He said he woke up in the middle of the night and looked out the window. He saw someone standing motionless near the tree line facing their house. He wasn't sure if it was a man or a woman, only that it was very tall, thin, and entirely still. When his mother checked, there was nothing there. The very next night, another villager, an old man named Hugh, reported hearing soft humming outside his bedroom window. A lullaby he said he hadn't heard since childhood. When he looked out, there was no one. But the next morning, he found muddy footprints leading up to his window. Barefoot, human-like, but longer than average. The police dismissed it as unrelated, but the villagers became increasingly uneasy. Livestock began disappearing. Dogs refused to go out at night. Even the birds grew quieter, as if the valley itself was holding its breath. Then a breakthrough came, or what they thought was a breakthrough. One night, around 2:30 am came in, a couple who had installed an early model security camera on their barn caught something on film. The footage showed a tall, pale figure standing still in the corner of the frame for exactly 45 minutes. It didn't move, it didn't blink, it didn't seem human, and yet it stood on two legs and had the shape of a person, only distorted, like a bad reflection in water. The footage made its way to authorities, but it was dismissed as a camera glitch. However, the couple that filmed it moved out of Glenmoore within the month. Over the years, more stories came out. A hiker in 1989 claimed to have found a small cave deep in the forest with what appeared to be mirrors nailed into the rock, all shattered from the inside. Another account described a whispering voice calling someone's name again and again until the person ran screaming from the woods, swearing never to return. To this day, Mary Wallace has never been found. Her house was eventually boarded up. The villagers still speak of her with a kind of reverence, and her name is often avoided during evening conversations. Newcomers to Glenmoore sometimes find sod lines on their doorstep, placed there without explanation, and more than a few have reported hearing tapping at their windows, always between 3 o'clock and 3:15 am. If you ever visit the Highlands and you find yourself in a quiet stone cottage, listen closely after midnight. If you hear humming or see you mere fog over when no one is around, don't look behind you. And above all, never answer the tap at the window. Some things once seen cannot be unseen.